Hey guys, it's Steph here from Shanti Centre's Training School, and I'm going to do a live tonight with Uma Dinsmore Tuli. Talk about her book, Yoni Shakti, and the course that she's running for my ATTC, which is a Yoni Shakti Well Woman Yoga Therapy Immersion, and also her Total Yoga Nidra immersion, which is part of that course. So I'm just going to invite her on, and if you're interested, grab a cuppa, and I'll just see if I can find her now. Here we go. So I'm just locating her. I'm going to invite her to join. Hi there, if you've already joined. Now, if you want to ask us any questions while we're doing this, when she comes, then please just type into the comments what you want to ask us. You'll find that things come up during your time. So I'm just finding Uma at the moment, and then we can get going. And hello to everyone who's joined. So I'm going to be talking to Uma Dinsmore Tuli. She's actually running a Total Yoga Nidra immersion and a Yoni Shakti Well Woman Yoga Therapy immersion as part of our 300-hour ATTC, which is starting in September, the 11th of September. And Uma's doing a module which is in March. It's a weekend course in Bristol. So if you're about and want to do that, that's great. You can either do the whole 300-hour or you can come and drop in on Uma's module. So I'm just going to find her now. Maybe my silly internet is going to keep me back, but we're just having a look, finding her. If she's going to get my invitation, and then we'll get going. So, yeah, the ATTC starts in September. It starts on the 11th of September. We're going to start with an inaugural retreat, an online retreat, weekend retreat, with me and Leela Lolling, my philosophy teacher and co-host of the TTC and ATTC. And then we've got lots of weekend modules. We've got the myofascial release module in September, end of September. Then in October, we have, what do we have in October? Oh, we have the philosophy teacher training weekend, which Leela's doing. In November, we have the accessible yoga training, which the European accessible yoga trainer, Uma Alessandra Cocci, is running. And then in December, we have a special yoga weekend with Jyoti Manual. And then we have also, January, we have Theo Wildcroft, who's running our ethics module, Shivani, who is running our Bhakti workshop, and Morven, who is running our Yoga for Cancer. And Morven's going to be speaking to us next, the end of August. And also we're going to have Jyoti on next week as well. And then finally in March, we have Uma, who's running her Yoni Shakti Well Woman Yoga Therapy Immersion live with us. So that's going to be happening in March. And then the course carries on in April. In March you get to do a subtle yoga anatomy course with me, which is split into two parts, one in March, one in June. And in May, we are going to run a prana intensive here at Shanti Centre. So I'm at Shanti Centre right now. That's why it's so hot, and I've got my little vest on. And Uma is on her way, so that is really great. I've just heard from her. She'll be in a minute to have a chat. Hi, Uma has joined. Now let's see if we can get her live. So hopefully we can just send her another little invitation. And she sent me a request, so I am saying yes. So here she is.
Lovely. Hi. I'm just.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Can you see me there? I'm just. I'm delighted to see you. Thank you.
It's really good to see you. I can see you. You're in your lovely room outside, aren't you? In your beautiful Mahashakti temple.
I'm in the Cotswolds, and I've got I don't know if you can see, there's 10 amazing yantras of the Mahavidyas. Look, there they go, in my, all 10. And they're quite large, you know, they're quite a big space. So I'm just going to pop that down, and there's a big red sea. That back wall is in the hill. So we're in the Cotswolds in the southwest of England, and yeah. It's very
amazing to see you. You've just done a yoga nidra, haven't you, as well? I saw you were doing that.
Yeah, we just did a little live. We did a lot. We did them every day. Like when the lockdowns first started, we did the lockdown lie downs and yoga nidra every single day online, because I just think people were so stressed they didn't know what to do. So we're like, just lie down. It will all feel better after you've lied down, even if the world has gone to hell in a handbasket and back again and over and back again and God knows where. Actually, rested humans are going to cope better with whatever it is. So I'm delighted to see you, lovely. You look well.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm in Italy, so I'm well because I get to spend 2 months in this retreat, in this empty retreat. Thanks to COVID, I get the whole retreat to myself. So I'm using it to refresh and restore, and building up my energy, ready to start all these courses, which are starting. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling blessed. I'm feeling lucky. And I'm hoping that the internet's not going to be naughty, because I did a live with Theo the other day, and the internet was shockingly bad. But I have since replaced my modem. So anyway, Uma Dinsmore Tuli, I'm so excited. I'm so grateful that you're taking the time today. Thank you so much. Why don't you just tell me all about Yoga Nidra, the concept, the movement, the immersion, and anything else you want to talk. You can talk about anything, even your kittens. I'm going to just love talking to you.
Yeah, I have to say my current Insta feed is mostly like kitten updates, because our lovely cat had 4 kittens. They're exquisite and they're playing in the kitchen all the time. So I just make endless videos of them. Mostly, I think what would be useful for people to hear, and I'm really happy if people have got questions or something. I'm here. I'm kind of at your service, because what I'm keen to share is the immensely powerful healing force of yoga nidra. Literally, it means yoga sleep. There may be people who are not sure quite what it means, but it literally means yoga sleep, and it's lying down, listening meditation that's effortless. You don't have to do anything, and you can listen in, and what happens is that your body comes into a kind of every aspect of you comes into rhythmic reconnection to the cycles of life, basically, as you lie down on the earth. So it gives people a huge an effortless capacity to just reconnect to the kind of healing resonance within. And that all sounds very vague, but basically what happens is that people feel a lot better. It's usually about 20 minutes, half an hour. Sometimes they're longer. But my passion in life, I'm the co-founder of the Yoga Nidra Network, which is an independent entity with very high ethical standards, because I take a bit of issue. There's a lot of ways to do Yoga Nidra. And I have to say, I've been practicing Yoga Nidra on and off for, mostly on, actually. It's my daily practice, usually 3 times a day.
Amazing.
For about over 25, nearly 30 years now, actually. Counting not being my strong point. But what I've discovered is that more and more people are becoming interested. It used to be like, what's that? It was a bit like, if you think of all the amazing yoga practices as being like a big treasure trove, and everybody got out all the big shiny stuff and like, oh yeah, wow, look at this and look at this and look at fantastic posture and marvelous thing, and and it's like, it's quite impressive and like what. But actually, like, the little treasure that got left in the bottom corner of the treasure box is like the most precious thing. It's the most transformatory thing, because it's totally radical, right? It means you don't need to do anything. Its nature is restful. Its form is restful. Its effect is restful, People often go to yoga and they say, oh, I like the little bit at the end, the Shavasana bit at the end. Hey, it's Unity Yoga Guru. I love it. We meet in the nicest places. Is that actually what you find is that the power of the restfulness is absolutely key to some of the most profound transformations. Why is that? Because your mind isn't necessarily in charge at that rate. You know what I mean? It's not like you decide what you have to be disciplined enough to stop and lie down. But fundamentally, what you're doing is allowing a naturally arising state of kind of quantum healing to arise. You know, it's a cyclical process. You often notice you kind of like rise up into it, listen, you're cognitively aware, and then you dip down, and it's going in cycles, just like sleep, just like digestion, just like menstruation, just like everything on the planet, you know, is like it's moving in cycles. And Yoga Nidra also does that. So I've got a passion to make sure that everyone knows it's everyone's practice, it's everybody's treasure. It doesn't belong to the people who have trademarked it. We don't have a trademark. We use a term called Total Yoga Nidra because we look at all the different forms of Nidra. I feel we share some of the best out of all of them, and some of the most ancient and profound and often the most simple practices of Yoga Nidra. And it is ancient. I mean, it roots back into really profound systems for the worship of the goddess, like where you bring your awareness around the whole of the body, but in a very simplified way. But it's also got a lot of modern input. You know, there were a lot of relaxationists and hypnotherapists, and the whole thing is an amazing hybrid. So clearly, obviously, like I run a teacher training course but we run a little immersion course, and that's kind of what I'm sharing with you, Stephanie, and you know, on your course is like, so people can get access to what they need to really kind of understand Yoga Nidra themselves, but also what they might need if you decided you wanted to go on and train as a Nidra teacher. But like, just to know a bit about it, I think is very empowering. I've had a cup of tea brought to me here. So you can ask me a few more questions, because I'm perfectly capable of like talking endlessly for hours, because obviously like I run a whole course about it, so I can see it. And I've been writing an encyclopedia of Yoga Nidra for 7 years.
Amazing. I know, we can't wait to read that one. And you're doing that with your husband, of course.
Yeah.
Co-writing.
Yeah, Nilita and I, we've just written a little small book about Yoga Nidra. It's quite radical. It's called Yoga Nidra Made Easy, and that will be out in March.
Excellent.
The house are looking after that for us, and it's a delight. It's like, this is everybody's practice. It's like how you can do it without even needing a recording. It's really radical. It's like democratization is what we're into. But then we have been working on it's lovely. And then the encyclopedia, it's illustrated. It's a fully...
Oh, wow.
Hi, my friend Tess is here. That's nice. Look, sorry. I love it when I feel a bit like a DJ on a pirate radio station going, hey, it's a big call out. Tess there. It's my best friend from like way back when, and all the folks, like, Unity Yoga Guru and all the folks. I'm just calling them out because I love to see it when people show up in it. It's quite cute. So so the encyclopedia is 770 pages long. It's called Nidra Shakti. Honestly, and it's like 2 years later than I said it would be, because as we worked on it, it includes like 50 different people, like, you know, experiencing Nidra, who share Nidra, stories of like healing from using Yoga Nidra after the most extraordinary things, through things that you might expect, like people going through chemotherapy, people going through surgery, recovering after surgery, people going through childbirth and pregnancy, and also people who've had like lightning injuries, which is a term for being struck by lightning, people with like brain hemorrhages, people with like seriously extraordinary challenges in life, and they've used Yoga Nidra. And so I invited, over years, I kept saying, tell these stories. So it's full of amazing stories and lots of guidance.
Stories are the important thing, aren't they? They're kind of bringing everyone together, because, I mean, I read some amazing stories. There's one in that, I don't know if you've read the Nishala Joy Devi book. There's this crazy story about a Yoga Nidra where this woman kind of just gets this name during a Yoga Nidra, and it turns out it's a person that can help her with this kind of cutting edge cancer treatment. And you know, almost unbelievable stories, but they are the stories. And when we share them, we realize that there's a lot more to it. And the uses of Nidra are limitless, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really, when you kind of start thinking about it and start putting it all together.
Yeah.
Do you think that Nidra is becoming popular because of a need that is arising during this time?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's popped up here with our friends at Unity Yoga, they're saying that Nidra for recovery from like substance abuse and supporting recovery from addiction is really amazing. Why? Because it really empowers folk to just like literally tap into something deeply intuitive within them. Like that always wants your highest and best good, which is what you're hearing about the Nishna Joy Devi story. Sometimes of all the yoga practices there are, Yoga Nidra is the one that really like forms your connection back home to your intuitive knowing. And that's what and I think you're right. There is a crying need for this, because so much of what ails so many of us now is fundamentally disconnection. Where we've seen it looked at like disconnection from your elders and disconnection from your family because you can't go see them and hug them, but like at a way deeper level.
Yeah, metaphysically.
Yeah, we've been disconnected from the land. I mean, and if you track the history of England, like that goes back to the enclosures, that goes back to kind of the Middle Ages. We're talking like 1500s when people were taken, the land was taken from people, and then the British went out and took everybody else's land off them. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, so what you see is this system that has made it very hard to live as humans in this world, because the world is full of injustice and inequity and theft and abuse and these terrible experiences that result in addiction, really. I mean, lots of ways. They result in all kinds of trauma that leads us to those places. What you find is that Yoga Nidra, bless you, is like, it enables us to deeply rediscover that intuitive connection that like brings us back into wholeness and balance, you know, and that's just so vital. So it is, I believe, becoming increasingly vital. Also at a very simple level, Stephanie, like people are just tired, like they're so tired. And they're tired and they're starting to wake up and see through stuff. I think a lot of us maybe felt we were kind of sleepwalking through this kind of like supremacist patriarchal world. And it's exhausting. I do a lot of work supporting, you know, activists and people striving for social justice and working for earth rights and earth democracy, and like actually trying to set things back in balance, back in right relationship. And if we're not in right relationship with our own energies, how can we expect to be in right relationship with the struggle or with just looking after our families or trying to do our jobs? Like we can't show up to be who we're asked to be in the world if we're tired. And I just want to shout, I'm not the only person doing this. There are some fantastic and marvelous people out there working with Yoga Nidra, and I'm proud to call them all my colleagues. People like Tracy Stanley, Yoli Yogini on Insta, Karen Brody, who's got the Rise Up Rested, the Nap Bishop, like that. There's people working with Yoga Nidra and deep rest all over the shop, and I'm just really proud and pleased that I've been doing it rather a long time, so I know a lot of these people, and I just still love it, and I just really encourage people.
You know, this kind of energy that you have, you know, is a credit in itself to the long-term practice. I mean, you're everywhere. You don't tire of kind of seeking out the, you know, the activist practices that need to be done, and also supporting the activists. You know, it's a credit to you. I remember reading somewhere that you practice Yoga Nidra and you'll have a radiant disposition and you'll be thriving and your eyes will shine and you'll have energy for the rest of your life. And it's like, it's true, actually. You're constantly like making up as you go along. And I think like what you've been saying about the activism, there's so much opportunities for burnout in that kind of environment, because you want to help, like, you know, thinking about it. And also if you were going to do it right, then you'd have to do it wrong in a way. And what I mean is, like, if you wanted to be a very good cancer surgeon, for example, you'd have to kind of cut out a little bit of the personality and just sort of be, if you felt everything all the time, you may not be able to carry on and go back to work. You know, there's this like gentle burnout, even with environmental activists.
Yeah.
They get burnt out because they care too deeply. If you don't care at all, you can't do your job. If you care too deeply, you get burnt out. And we need people supporting the activists, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, and I think this is really quite crucial, because there are so many platforms that people can be working on. People easily get burnt out managing, and there's also so many interconnected issues. It's absolutely crucial that intersectionality is necessary. But then when you see where things meet, you start seeing the whole of the web of injustice and oppression, and like, where do you deal with it, you know? But what I see is that people do get burnt out. And I've been involved, like the earliest campaigns I remember engaging with, as part of the union that I was involved with as a student, was like working with the anti-apartheid movement, back in the day, and looking at that and other issues that we kind of engaged with, feminist issues around women's health and women's safety, issues around, access to safe birthing facilities. And also, I mean, like, I've been involved in lots of different stuff, cooperatives, caring for little children, running community camps. I've done lots of that different kind of thing. And at every stage, I've seen political and community activists burn out. People working against, anti-racist activists, people working against, misogyny and abuse, everyone. But what I see is the necessity that if we're on that front line, wherever you're placing yourself, and to be honest, everyday life can be a bit of a struggle. If you've actually noticed these things, you need to be able to rest and nourish yourself, because we can't be of any service to anyone without that access to our own rest. And I know, like, everybody, and that's why the yoga is important, and that's why I love the kind of work that you're doing, because you're putting yoga into the service of everyday life, so that people can use the practices of yoga nidra or whatever else they're using to create a sense of rebalancing and nurturing and nourishing. And I don't like the idea of yoga being like competitive or depleting or running against your cycle. So I've been on about that for a while now. But I do have to be a bit careful, because people come after me, there's things I'm not allowed to say anymore, because like, people threaten you. Let me tell you about it. I won't talk too much about it. Let's just focus on the positive. But you got into big trouble.
So I remember watching a YouTube thing of you and talking about how countercultural it is, because like everything you've been saying is you have to realize, you learn that everything you need is inside. And when you go back inside, you remember that you don't need all of this stuff. So obviously, no one's going to help us promote this stuff, right? Because it's like teaching your students that they don't need you.
That's a very interesting aspect. Well, because I don't quite know where to start with that, but fundamentally, what any good yoga therapist will do, and that's the only kind of a professional affiliation I retain. Proud member of the Yoga Teachers Union. Sign up, people. And I'm also proudly a member of the International Association of Yoga Therapists. But like, what you find is that a good yoga therapist will be somebody who empowers you to connect into the practices that nourish you, so that you don't really need them to tell you what to do anymore, because your body wisdom, which is part of the wisdom of the earth, if you listen to that, it will always be cyclical. So I've done a lot of work around menstruation but those other cycles, digestion and sleep. Nidra is very good at re-establishing healthy sleep cycles. And all of these cycles will, if you give them a chance, want for you to be well. Like the earth is spinning around on her cycles. And if we honor those cycles, and look where we've got by not doing that, got ourselves in a right friggin' wildfire if people were to play it on fire and half the species extinct. But if we actually step back and see, where do we fit within this, and how can we honor those cycles in our lives? Like, when is it better for me to eat, sleep? When do I put that practice in? You start to listen to your own body wisdom, and the kind of yoga teaching that's most nourishing will be as a guide on the side. Not as a sage up on the stage. It's not a celebrity focused thing. Like, you want to make yourself of service, and ultimately redundant, because everybody's a teacher. That's the thing I often teach, is with great respect and love. I honor my heart, my inner teacher. I honor she whose body is the world, upon whom I rest. Jagadambe Mata Ki Jai. I honor she whose body is the earth. And when we honor what's beneath the body of the earth, when we honor our own heart wisdom, when we honor the cycles of our own bodies, ancient wisdom, then we come back into balance. And a good yoga therapist or yoga teacher is going to help that to happen and then not be needed. I mean, when you've been teaching long enough, you see the cycles. So there are people like, I'm still working. I had a conversation this afternoon with Lisa White, who I run the pregnancy yoga teaching with. We've been working together for like over 22 years. So some people stick around and we're still working together, and we've got a deep, amazing connection with a lot of teachers. And other folk, they come through. It's a bit like kind of growing an orchard, you know, like, so we nurture people. There's a lot of people I've trained who are now running their own teacher training courses, and because like they go off and do their own thing. And ideally, if you're a good teacher, then basically your students they're going to be better than you.
Yeah, we go off.
It. And also, I'm getting on a bit, you know. I don't want to do this forever, but like, I just feel that. And some of my deepest wisdom teachers, they're all over 70. How can you be honest? Most of my teachers, I'm like, I don't think I can really trust anyone who isn't over 70, because I want to see what happens in their bodies as they age. And I see the integrity, the kindness, and the authenticity of those older teachers who've lived a life of practice and sharing, you know.
Amazing.
So, big shout out to Gyananjan in Italy, and Angela Farmer, and Vicky Noah, and all the people who've been at this a really long time. They've been around the place doing this, and you can see and feel within them the beauty of their aging as another cycle, you know. And it doesn't involve like doing the same yoga practice diligently because some guruji told you to do it that way. So I'm giving thanks to that. I know if you want to ask about something else, Stephanie, or talk about what I'm doing with you or for you, because
well, I love that. I love that we're doing the total yoga nidra as part of what you're offering for the ATTC, which I think is just incredible. And also you're doing the live part of the Yoni Shakti, so you could talk about what to expect on a Yoni Shakti well woman yoga therapy immersion, if you want to. And also like how that projects itself into the world. So Yoni Shakti is now a movement, and you know, it's so much more. It all starts with Nidra and then blossoms out into cycles, as you've said. And so how does this show up? And how, just talk about that if you want.
What's important is to realize that the term Yoni Shakti is, again, you know, it's not like a trademark or a franchise. Like, I don't have it in me to run anything like that. Like, it's just not how it is with yoga. It means source power. Yoni Shakti means source power. And so the Yoni Shakti immersion is all about a simple way to guide you through a connection with the source power within you, which might manifest as menstrual cycle awareness. And for menopausal people, it manifests as an awareness of how we move through the cycles as we age. And what I see is that when we share that, we share simple mudras, gentle mudras and rhythmic patterns in each season of one of these cycles. So it could be the seasons of your menstrual cycle or the seasons of your menopausal experience. Each one has its own kind of quality and nature. It has its own yoga nidra practice. It has its own gentle mudra practice, and conversations and opportunities to explore. So we learn from our own wisdom. And so I look at the different life cycles. I think that human life cycles are initiations into power, and that some of the initiations that come into that source power come through very profound life, what do you call it? Like initiations, like when you're initiated into the bleeding phase, or to pregnancy or motherhood, or even the experience of awakening sexuality and awareness. Those moments are times when we can see deep wisdom. So I share really simple practices that help people to reconnect to that. And then we can go deeper in with that, and you start to see how that manifests in your own life as a way to live by. You know, it's like actually to create cycles with your own yoga practices that are suited to the different qualities. Sometimes you feel very quiet and internalized, maybe because you're bleeding or because you're recovering from illness, and maybe because you're grieving, you know, and all these cycles that need an attentive and kindly way to just match the yoga practices to what suits them. It's basically nourishing. I'm interested in yoga that nourishes and nurtures your own power.
As an advanced practice, as an advanced teaching, you know, we put that behind, didn't we? But like actually, if you're going to be a good yoga teacher, if you're going to advance your yoga teaching, you know, because there's advancing your yoga practice and there's advancing your yoga teaching, and you know, you want to be able to nurture more people in all different ways. That's how I kind of see, you know, advanced yoga teaching is to be able to meet the needs of more people, to hold space for more people, to be able to kind of offer them practices rather than, like you were saying, the standard practice that the guru taught you that you have to do every day for the rest of your life. It's like actually you're going to meet a lot of people who are in this state. As a yoga teacher, you're going to meet a lot of women in your classes. You're going to meet a lot of people who are grieving, because that's humans. And to be able to have more tools, more, you know, more nourishing practices really, and to realize that kind of these gentle nourishing practices are actually an advanced form of bringing people back to themselves, bringing them home, you know. And I think that gets left behind, doesn't it? People think, oh, that's just the easy thing.
No, to be honest, I think it's in some ways the most challenging thing to teach well, because it looks like you're doing nothing. And I would say that there is an intimate relationship between our capacities to hold space for people, maybe for teaching or for guidance or for listening. The capacity to do that depends on our own practice. So whenever I'm training teachers, like what's rooted in it, and I notice in your teaching and trainings too, what's rooted in it is the space and then the encouragement for people to take these practices into your own life. Because you can't share what you don't practice. You can't pour from an empty jug. Like for example, today when I knew I was going to be sharing this thing in the afternoon with the Yoga Nidra live, which you can see on my IGTV, on my Insta feed. There's a you know, a couple of little channels and different series there about Yoga Nidra. But in order to know that I can authentically share that, or any teacher can authentically share, you need to keep doing the practice yourself, and it evolves continually. It evolves continually, and I think that's like a crucial part of any advancement of your teacher training, your teacher capacity is to deepen. You can't go forward unless you kind of go back down and in to your own rootedness. And that often involves a lot of self-inquiry and taking apart what you thought you know about yoga, and sometimes you just get simpler and simpler.
Yeah, I mean, your wise 70-year-plus yoga teachers that you're talking about, their advanced practice is not going to be what maybe a lot of people consider an advanced yoga practice, is it? It's going to look very different, and it's just opening yourself to life more and more as you go through life. I think we need a whole kind of different framework of, you know, what is actually advanced practice, and more space holding, to be able to hold space for more people, and work them through, chill them out.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, I mean, there's a beautiful comment here that as a mature teacher says, I struggle to stay where I was wanted. You can't stay in the same place, because that's death. Do you know what I mean? Like, which is part of the whole cycle, you know, but it's like, you can't, it would deny the life-giving evolutionary nature of yoga, which is constantly evolving and shifting. Yes, it has rooted connection into deep and ancient practices, and yes, it has rooted connection into deep and ancient wisdom within us. And the more we tap into this, the capacity to grow comes. So we're never staying where it is that we were, you know, because if you were doing that, I don't know what would happen. You just ossify. The practice changes, and it needs to change exactly as we change. And at the same time, the essence of what we're sharing is always the same. People are going, what are you doing? And I go, oh, same old, with great respect and love. I honor my heart, my inner teacher. I honor she whose body is the world. I teach those same reconnections in different ways, because constantly when we say you are nothing but change, the essence of the awareness that's holding that is unchanging, because you're constantly tapping into that deep wisdom that is not any single one of us. It's like beyond all of us. And there is, I think, an increasing sense of, you know, that collective necessity to build like a heartfelt connection that's truly present. And I think we're evolving the capacity to do that more deeply, even through like what we're doing now, you know, like actually a genuine connection that I feel with you, partly because like we have met each other in person, but also because like actually I feel where you are, and all the folk who are popping up here, we're feeling that we're actually in resonance and connection, because we're striving very often for intersectional aims that are supporting each other. Everybody's struggle for liberation is interconnected, and yoga is absolutely a tool for liberation. That's why I want it out of the hands of the people who keep slapping their trademarks and their franchises on it. And I've been banging on about this, Stephanie, as you know, for a very long time now. I mean, I first wrote Yoni Shakti, I finished it. Yeah, you're so feeling it. Bless you. Menopause and Black women's health. I love following you. I love seeing, because I follow you, I see what you're doing, you know. The Nidra teaching language infuses with the asana teaching language. I always teach Yoga Nidra first. And I feel like even as we follow each other and say, oh, yay, what's the Menopause and Black women's health doing this week? What's she doing? What's Stephanie up to? I see a resonance in that we're endeavoring to kind of rise up together. Each one of us has got goosebumps. Each one of us has got our role. And you want to empower. Yoga empowers people to really connect with what that might be. And for, everyone is trying. We're all trying together. God love you. You know, it's like, and that we are in our tiredness and in our like, you know, I don't know, in our cyclical connection with the moons. That's why I tend to work at full moons and new moons. I've always avoided working at the new moon because I find it very, very a strange, dark space. But like, we actually can support each other. And I'm so grateful for all the wisdoms that, you know, we've gained from yoga, from the teachings of the earth wisdom practices, from our own indigenous practices. Like, you know, my roots go back into Ireland and into kind of Celtic practices and earth honoring practices. And they're not really separate from the yoga practices when you get right into it. Like, they're all life affirming practices that honor cyclical wisdom.
Yeah. When you think about the meaning of yoga, it's, you know, you strip it right back. What is yoga? It's, you know, it's going to connect everything together. All of us, all the traditions, all of, you know, just stripping back the meaning of life, isn't it? Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you so much. I have to go and check on my children who are trying to cook. But I can't see the comments. So if you have,
I can see there was a really nice comment from our friends in the Menopause and Black Women's Service asking what's the course you have to do to get into the main course. I've got this. We were talking about this immersion. I do that for both of my big teacher trainings, and I'm doing it through you, Stephanie. So people come and do your course, they'll get that immersion bit, because it took years to get to this place. But I found that what people really benefited from were these little immersion courses. So there's a Yoga Nidra immersion and there's a Yoni Shakti immersion. And both of those give you like a kind of fundamental framework of deeply nourishing basic practices that awaken your own understanding of the fundamentals. So in the Yoni Shakti, the fundamentals are about cyclical wisdom, whether that be a postmenopausal cyclical wisdom around the moon and the earth, or whether it be a cyclical wisdom of menstruation. And with Nidra, we're looking at all the different kinds of Nidra, you know? So those immersions are quite short, actually. And one of the ways I'm working with you, Stephanie, is that we've integrated the immersion course within. Yeah.
Hooray, hooray, hooray.
We have to go. I'm so excited to see all those lovely peeps. My feed is full of really inspiring people and they're all showing up here. So we better go, haven't we?
Yes, thank you so much, Uma, for your time. And yeah, well, I'll put this on IGTV. And if you have comments or questions for us, even afterwards, just tag us, and we will attempt to get back to you. Oh, thanks, Uma. And I'll see you very soon.
Nice to see you, and have a lovely time in Italia.
Thank you. Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, ciao, Bella.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Ciao.